Greetings, friends around the world. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy channel. Today I'd like to talk about Antipope Francis. Is it possible that Francis, who became Bishop of Rome in March of 2013, is it possible that he is an antipope? Who would come up with such ideas? Well, actually, one person who recently suggested that was actually a Catholic cardinal. Why is there concern about Pope Francis possibly being an antipope? What's he done? Well, there's quite a few things that he's done that would offend those who are not Roman Catholic. But as far as things that have affected Roman Catholics, one was, it's been reported that he doesn't genuflex in front of the Eucharistic host, or he did not in a couple of incidents, where basically this is something that Catholics would do, especially Catholic clergy would do. Those of us who aren't Catholic, that we would pass, we wouldn't think anything of that. But others are concerned that he's making statements, doing things that go against the Roman Catholic faith, as well as some complaints he's going against the biblical faith. I have a headline here from Tanzania. It says, "Church schism under Pope Francis is possible." And they're talking about a couple of cardinals who are wondering. One conservative cardinal by the name of from Australia named Cardinal George Pell put a homily together. He prepared in the traditional Latin Mass, but he started to ruminate on papal authority. He said, Pope Francis is 266th Pope, and history has seen 37 false or antipopes. So the news article says, well, why mention this unless he's bringing the possibility that Pope Francis could be an antipope? And one of the reasons that this is coming out is because Pope Francis has attempted to be more ecumenical, to try to bring in others into the faith, into the Catholic faith, others such as Protestants, evangelicals, Pentecostals, Eastern Orthodox. He's had meetings with Muslims, Jews, and some others. And Pope Francis even went so far as back in May of 2013, when he's asked if an atheist could be saved, he basically said, by works, an atheist could be saved. Well, the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says it's by grace you are saved through faith. It's the gift of God, not of yourself, lest anyone should boast. If Francis has indicated or stated that atheists can be saved. One thing that's been raising the ire of some Catholics is Pope Francis's positions on homosexuality, divorce and remarriage, and fornication. Basically, various parts of the Catholic clergy are concerned that what Pope Francis is doing is watering things down to make it acceptable, if you will, to be Roman Catholic and to be a practicing homosexual, fornicator, adulterer, etc. There's another person who's been raised as an opponent, if you will, to the Pope. Is a cardinal by the name of Raymond Burke. And some consider that he is perhaps one of the leading opponents to Pope Francis. Some wonder what will happen to him for this. But he said that the Roman Catholic Church under Francis is like a ship without a rudder. And he says, many have expressed their concerns to me at this very critical moment. There's a strong sense that the Church is like a ship without a rudder, has said Burke, a Wisconsin native. And he's been an outspoken critic, they say, of some of the things with Pope Francis. Now, if you happen to be Roman Catholic, you might say, isn't the Pope supposed to be infallible and all that kind of stuff? Well, those of us outside the Roman Catholic faith would say certainly not. Even Catholic saints have brought up issues that this is simply not the case. For example, the Catholic Saint Robert Bellarmine said, therefore, the true opinion is the fifth, according to the Pope, who is manifestly a heretic, ceases himself to be Pope and head, the same way he ceases to be a Christian and member of the body of the Church. For this reason, he can be judged and punished by the Church. This is the opinion of all the ancient fathers who manifest heretics immediately lose all jurisdiction. So in other words, he's saying, if a Pope is a heretic, he's not part of their faith, and therefore he should be put out. There's St. Francis de Sales also said, we do not say Pope cannot earn his private opinions, But when he's explicitly a heretic, he fails ipso facto from his dignity out of the church. The church must either deprive him, as some say, or declare him as deprived of his apostolic see. And so this is another Catholic source. Now there's also fringe Catholics. Fringe Catholic groups have claimed that there have been false popes, antipopes, ever since Vatican II. And I'm not going to focus on that, but I will say that amongst regular professing Catholics, some do have concerns about this. Now, when Francis became Pope, I put out a book, and I had a chapter called "Is the Pope Catholic? Or Will He Betray Rome?" Now, growing up Roman Catholic, this was kind of a standard joke. The answer for something, question is yes, is, instead of saying the answer yes, you say, well, it's the Pope Catholic. But is it possible that there will be a Pope who is not truly Roman Catholic? And you say, well, there's been antipopes throughout history. And that's certainly true. But the reality is that many are wondering if Pope Francis truly believes the Roman Catholic faith. Now, the Bible talks about a leader who is going to rise up, and he's going to feign a certain faith, but he's going to end up betraying the faith as well. This particular leader is known in the Bible as the false prophet, the final Antichrist, as well as the beast of the earth. He's talked about in Revelation chapter 13, starting in verse 11. I'm just going to read a couple of passages here. It says, "Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spoke like a dragon." Verse 14, "And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast could both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed." So we're talking about some type of a religious leader here who wants people to falsely worship somebody else called the beast, which in this particular case is a reference to a final European leader who is going to rise up. And this particular false prophet basically is indicating people should worship this individual because he runs a particular state. You say, well, Pope Francis hasn't done that. And that's true. Pope Francis has made a variety of statements, and he hasn't specifically gone out and say you need to worship the state. And that time isn't quite here yet. But he's made statements that make you wonder about him. Sometimes when he speaks, he sounds good. He's warning people about being covetous, being too focused on the world. Those sound fine. But Pope Francis also has said, be careful that because there are pagans who appear to be Christian. This is something he recently said in the fall of 2014. Well, the Bible warns about somebody who looks like a lamb but speaks like a dragon. And if you teach that atheists can be saved, you water down the Bible's teachings on sexuality and morality, you've got to start to wonder if perhaps it's not somebody like him who the Bible is talking about. Now, some of you will say, well, this sounds a lot like Catholic bashing. The Catholics don't believe that this could happen to the Pope. Well, that's simply not the case. I'm going to read some writings from Anna Catherine Emrich, also known as Anna Katrina Emrich, and she was beatified by one of the popes recently, in the last several years, 10 years or so. And she said that she saw some odd-looking church people trying to build. She says there's nothing holy about it. This is Babel. There's some question of Protestant sharing in the government of the Catholic clergy. Well, Pope Francis has made comments that he wants the Eucharist shared between all professing faiths and indicated some kind of power sharing arrangement there. Here's another one from her. "I came to the church of Peter and Paul in Rome, and I saw a dark world of distress, confusion, and corruption. She said in January 27, 1822, I saw many Christians returning to the bosom of the church, entering through the walls. The Pope will be strict. He'll remove lukewarm bishops. But it'll be a long time before this happens. Then she said, a few months later, I saw in Germany, among the worldly wise ecclesiastics, enlightened Protestants, plans formed for the blending of all religious creeds. Well, Pope Francis has been making statements where he wants to blend all religious creeds. Here's another one thing she said in 1823. To build a large, singular, extravagant church which is supposed to embrace all creeds with equal rights, evangelicals, Catholics, all denominations, a true communion of the unholy with one shepherd, one flock. There was to be a pope, a salaried pope without possessions. So she's warning that under some pope, there's going to be a communion between various faiths, and she says this is wrong. Pope Francis has specifically gone out and said that the Eucharist, the Catholic Eucharist he's referring to, is the central pathway to unity. He said that in the fall of 2014. He's doing the types of things that certain Catholic writers have warned about. Now I'd like to read something from Yves Dupont, who is interpreting some of what Anna Katrina Emrich said. He said they wanted to make a new church, a church of human manufacture. He says, an anti-pope will be set up in Rome. And this long has been a concern of certain Catholic writers. Melanie Mathieu in the 19th century said Rome will lose faith and become the seat of the Antichrist. Jean Lavroye, who died in 1798, said, I see that the second coming of Christ approaches, a bad priest will do much harm to the church. And even the Catholic Pope, who's called St. Gregory the Great by the Catholics, who died around 604, said in those days near the end, an army of priests and 2/3 of Christians are going to join the schism. Yves Dupont, who I mentioned before, said prophecies are quite explicit about the election of an anti-pope. Many prophecies predict an anti-pope and a schism. And so when one or two cardinals starts to hint that this is an issue, understand that there are Catholic writings that support this. There's some other writings. One is that the false prophet is going to usurp papal authority. Here's one from Catholic writers Ted and Maureen Flynn. Catholic prophecy warns of severe problems threatening the papacy. An anti-pope will see papal authority. It will be those who hold fast to the truths of the faith who will be labeled as perpetrators as horrible schism. Here's from a Catholic priest, Paul Kramer, in the 21st century. The errors of Orthodoxy and Protestantism will be embraced by that false church. It will be an ecumenical church because the anti-pope will be recognized by the world. Not by the faithful, but by the world, by the secular world and secular governments. The anti-pope will be recognized as legitimate pope of the church and the legitimate head of the Vatican State. And that church will be united with false religions. I don't want to read all these Catholic prophecies now. We have an article that we've got linked at the end of this video. Where you got the video, you can go and look these up. But repeatedly, Catholics warned that something's going to happen to their faith. Now, the Bible warns in Revelation 13, verses 4 through 8, that the world is going to follow this false beast power, the one that the false prophet, the Antichrist, is going to get people to worship. The Bible warns not to be part of that particular system, but Jesus in Matthew 24:24 said that most people are going to be deceived. Now, biblical prophecies in Revelation 17, 1 through 9 and verse 18 say the Church of Rome, because Rome would be the city of 7 hills and the great city that rules the world, as it says in Revelation 17, is going to be betrayed. It talks about that in Revelation 17, verses 16 and 17. Well, the Bible also shows that the Antichrist, the false prophet, he's going to survive that particular betrayal until Jesus returns. And you can read that in Revelation 19, verses 19 through 20. So what does this mean? This means that both biblical as well as Catholic prophecies warn about a coming betrayal of the Church of Rome by some ecclesiastical authority who sounds a lot like an anti-pope. Some are starting to wonder if Pope Francis could be that particular anti-pope. His age is a factor, which is one of the reasons why I've been hesitant to say for sure that he is, and I'm still hesitant to say for sure that he is. But what I will say is that Pope Francis has taken steps to move people away from the defined Roman Catholic faith that was defined, for example, in the Catechism of the Catholic Church in the 1990s. It's a revision of it. He's trying to move people further away from that, more toward an ecumenical faith. An ecumenical faith that the Bible warns against. Now, I'm not endorsing the faith of the old Catechism, because I believe the original Catholic faith is one, the original Christian faith is one that the Church of Rome has deviated from substantially. And I'll put a link, you can read an article about that as well. But the reality is, what's happening now is Pope Francis, whether he is or is not an antipope, is certainly setting the stage for the final Antichrist, final antipope to rise up. The time isn't quite here for all of that to happen yet, but there are some concerns. Rumblings with cardinals within Rome, from people who are Roman Catholics, and from those who are outside the Roman Catholic Church, watching to see what this Pope is going to do, because he is doing things that definitely go against the Bible, as well as some things that go against the teachings and traditions of the Church of Rome. The Bible warns at the time of the end, someone will rise up from a religious figure, and he will be part of the betrayal of the Church of Rome. Could this possibly be Pope Francis, or perhaps his successor? Something to think about. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy channel.